BladesIIB knives, machining and welding. Let's get after it. Hey YouTube, welcome back to the BladesIIB shop. Today we're doing a custom modification on our Bronco pebbles here. I've got a whole nother channel, Bad to the Stone, where if you want to check out all the Bronco mods we have going on. But this one, I'm just going to focus a little more on the machining since we are making this part. Wanted to put something on here to protect the top of this, either bed rail or tub cover when the top is off. So going to take some of this 1/2" aluminum, machine out this, contour this shape on here. It's going to be all in the manual mill. This is way too big to fit in my Tormach CNC machine. I might be able to pull the window out and do the ends, but it doesn't seem that critical. I think we can knock this out on the manual mill. Going to do some long slots in the top, cut the edge out, and then cut a recess on the back so that it drops down a little bit and sits on there more like the top does. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, encourage you to check out other videos on here on machining, welding, knife making, just kind of a lot of different stuff in metalwork. Today, we're gonna take this cardboard template that I've made, lay it out on this piece of 1/2" aluminum, get it cut out on the bandsaw, and then we'll get it over in the manual mill and cut some slots, some notches, some other things in here and get it looking the way we want to. Probably finish most of the outside on a 72-inch belt grinder. So again, just a good manual machining project to get this thing knocked out. So far, I've already got the cardboard template done. It's gonna be the same on both sides. I should just have to flip it over and it'll work to make the one on the other side. So let's get out of the heat. Let's head over to the air-conditioned shop. Let's start working on this chunk of aluminum and get it cut out. See you over there. All right, I'm gonna use a Sharpie to lay this out. We'll try to cut pretty close to the line, but obviously we'll be doing a little bit of belt sanding, grinding, cleaning this up before we get done. All right, that's about what our layout looks like. Let's get that over to the bandsaw, see how this stuff cuts. All right, there's one cut out. Let's get the other one cut out. All right, just gonna give these a quick, get some chips off and wipe down. Then we're gonna clamp them together and get them profiled at the same time. A little closer to the line on one than the other. It's all right, we'll get them roughed out here. All right, we're just about getting cleaned up in there. Just about there. All right, let's take time to go do a little test fit here. All right, I am pretty happy with the fit so far. Got it lined up, pretty much lines up with this seam back here. It's kind of what we're going for. So we got it lined up back there. It could go in just a hair, and that is because we just need to notch out a little bit around that part. I didn't get that with the saw. So if we notch that out a little bit and then just a little bit more angle on this piece, and that'll bump it over just a little bit. But again, I think that's looking pretty good down the line there. So honestly, I don't know that I really want it to go over that much. I think I might just leave that all as a little bit of clearance. I think I'm just gonna focus on knocking out that little bit right there so that it just all slides ahead just a little bit. I think that's gonna get us what we want. I think that's lined up well enough right there. So yeah, pretty much just gonna knock a little bit out of that notch on both of them. And we should be ready to drill some holes, make sure we got a good fit. All right, we'll get all these edges finished off with a 120, and then we'll go in there and put in those couple notches. Done that for you. All right, let's get our holes laid out on here. So this first one, I measured when it was on the vehicle. So we want 1 5/16 from the front of the vehicle. We got a little bit of clearance there. So we got that one is where we want it. Next one is 23 3/4. I like starting at the 1 inch to make sure I can line it up on the center of that other mark. So that'll be 24 3/4. Okay, 24 3/4 and 1 1/4 from the edge. Next one is 7 5/16 and 1 inch. And then we got 6 1/4 and 3/4 of an inch. All right, we're just gonna punch 3/8 holes in there and we'll go see how that fits. Get the drill press set up and knock some holes in there. We'll verify it fits on both sides and then we'll drill the other one to match. All right, we're drilling these holes 3/8. That should give us the clearance we need. Just a quick clamp down, shift it over, get the holes together. Quick deburr by hand, make sure it sits flat for the next hole. All right, let's go verify that we get our bolts in there. We'll make sure we get that to fit on the other side as well, and if it is, we'll drill the other one to match. If not, we'll make any adjustments we need, get the other one drilled, and then we can start milling. All right, snug, but it's in there. That one's good. Okay. Well, it wants to go in just a hair to fit on there. I think I might just drill them slightly oversized to give it the little bit of flexibility that I need. I think that'll be good. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go up a size on the drill bit, drill them a little bit over and go with that. Be right back. All right, went a little oversized. Let's see how that does for us. All right, definitely happier on hole number one. Let's leave that a little loose. Okay, we're good there. Okay, we are in on everything. All right, I was going to mill a 1/4 inch slot in the backside of that to drop it down, but honestly, that's such a big gap. A 1/4 inch isn't gonna do it any justice. There's a 1 inch piece, and even 1 inch leaves a pretty good gap. I believe what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some 1 1/8" aluminum, and I'm just gonna drill and tap, and I'm gonna bolt a piece of 1 1/8" aluminum along the edge of that, and I think that that will look way better than me, and it'll be a lot easier to do. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just bolt a piece of 1 1/8" along the outside edge of that, and that will give a much better looking finish on that. Yeah, come around that curve, bolt it in place, bend it around. I think that'll look a lot better. If my TIG welding was good enough, I'd weld it on there, but at this point, I don't think my TIG welding looks pretty enough to do that. So we will go with bolting it on. All right, I'll go pick up some 1 1/8" aluminum to do that, but while today we'll work on milling some decorative slots in the top side of this. I think I can definitely still do that. So we're gonna go 1/4 inch slots, 1/8 of an inch deep. We'll kind of space them out, and we'll make sure we do not go over top of where the holes are. And we'll mark around where the holes are. Actually, you know what? Let's go grab a Sharpie, mark around those right now. Okay, verify this fits the other side, and then we'll go start working on some slots, and we'll get the other one drilled. All right, well, glad I checked the other side. I got the front and the back one in, but these two I need to adjust pretty much 1/8 of an inch in order to get them to line up in there. So as everyone has noticed, these Broncos all have a little bit of body differences, but the main one that I'm noticing is this one definitely has a little more bow out on the body, because on the other side, this goes down and actually clears the body. Here, it's gonna sit on top. So 1 1/8" is barely gonna fit probably. It's gonna almost touch. Might have to grind a little bit off the bottom on this side, so the gap, the spacing will be a little bit different on both of them. So anyway, makes it a little tough to make a set of these for somebody else. Every Bronco seems a little different, but still gonna look cool for this one, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, that's how they're coming together. Let's go get the other one drilled, and then we'll start working on some slots on top of them. All right, we moved a couple of these ones around. Let's see how we did. That one's nice. That one still goes. All right, these are the two. Looks like we did what we were supposed to. Okay, I think we got it. I think we did. All right, let's see. Yeah, that's definitely, I think 1 1/8" will still make it though. It'll just be less gap on this side, and it'll look like it's inside the rail instead of a little outside on that. We got everything else matching up, so that's just differences in our bodies. We'll go with it. Okay, let me mark with a Sharpie on the top of these so we know where not to put slots. All right, so here's the plan. We're gonna put some slots. I gotta move this multiple times. I've gotta shift it down in order to get it milled enough, and then I'll turn it around and have to do some from the other end. We've rounded off this corner over here, So I don't know that I'm going to put the last slot in. I think I might leave just an extra wide flat on that side, but we'll see what it looks like when we get over there. I mean, it's a full 1/4 of an inch narrower, so I would end up with a 1/4 of an inch that spreads out to the almost 1/2 inch. Yeah, I guess 1/4 of an inch will still work. We may still put it there. I'm going to come about 1/2 inch in from the end. Just going to be kind of eyeballing that as I go around to line it up. So actually I may grab a Sharpie and I'll probably mark a line on there at about my 1/2 inch mark, so I kind of have where I need to go for that. And then we'll be stopping at these red lines, picking up again so that we don't go through our bolt spots. So anyway, just cutting some slots, but with all these different edges, lots going on. Let me find this edge so I know where to work my way over from. We'll keep working over from this nice straight edge as we flip it around, turn it around, and hopefully keep everything lined up. See how it turns out. And I'm using a drill chuck instead of a collet just to give me a little more depth to get in and around my clamping. We'll have to move clamps as we work our way over as well. Okay, so that should have me on the center. So I should be going over 5/8 of an inch. And that should put me 1/2 inch from this edge. For better accuracy, I could have used a dial indicator to dial in the front edge of that workpiece each time. Wasn't looking for that kind of accuracy for this part. I used a square off the front edge of the table, used that same square setting across both ends, so about 25 inches between, and that got me close enough. That got it within a few thou, and you can see it keeps that line looking really straight on this project. All right, time to flip it around again to get that last section done. So I turned it and I used the same process. I used the square again off of that edge, got it lined up, and again, you can dial it, but that really did work out close enough for this project. So just holding the square on the front edge of the mill, making sure that I lock that square in on both sides, get it the same distance, and then lined up in the groove, started cutting again. Well, there is one slotted. We just got to get our other piece on the edge, but definitely my transitions and all those shifts and moving clamps and spinning it around, it's not perfect. I think once it's powder coated, it's gonna cover a lot of that up and it's still gonna look more than decent, but definitely having a big enough mill to be able to cut those slots all in one would make it a much better project. I think that is gonna look all right. Let's go out there and put it on and see what it looks like. All right, just wanted to get kind of a close up here. You can see how those grooves and lines look. Can you see the steps? Sure, you can tell where I transitioned from one cutter to the other, but they don't look bad at all. Lines look good. I love how that worked out with stopping around where those quick release Rockworks bolt on there. Yeah, I am very happy with how that is turning out. All right, let's go get the other one knocked out. All right, got the second one done. I actually used a 3-flute end mill. I think I liked it a little better. I think the transitions came out really nice on this one. So coming up to the first set there, you can see them. Kind of played with it a little bit as I was coming across, but I think got those looking pretty decent. And then on the other end, I came from the other direction and had them meet up. I think those ones came out looking nice as well. Had one little mistake, went a little bit too deep on one groove because messed it up on the end. I only went over 450 instead of 500. I plunged, noticed it was off, fixed it, so it really isn't looking too bad there. You can only really spot it right where I plunged in. But it's funny, as the cutter got a little bit dull, it looks like I changed the feed rate on this end, but I did not. Kept it at pretty much 7 inches a minute the whole time. So just got a little chewier in there on a couple of those cuts, but again, powder coat, bead blast should clean most of that up and fill it in. Okay, we got both of them done. Let's go ahead and get it set up, and we will start drilling and tapping all of our holes in that leading edge so that we can bolt our piece on there afterwards. All right, we're ready to get all our holes drilled and tapped in here. So I've got those all laid out. I've got them center punched on the center line there. Spaced them pretty much 4 inches apart across the flat. Got a little tighter as I came around the corner there to make sure it's gonna hold that bend nicely in place. And I've kind of got a little different setup here on my mill. I've just stacked up some pieces to give myself a flat rest, holding this on edge. It's gonna hold it square enough. So I've got one facing one way, one the other way. It slides in there. I'm able to get it from both ends. Should be able to reach all the holes to about probably these last couple here. I think this will be the last one I'm hitting on the flat. And then the other ones around the corner, I'll end up having to do those by hand. We'll get those after. And I should also be able to tap it. So I've got my depth set. Once I get over here, I am gonna need to change my depth and go a little bit deeper. I wanna make sure that I can get 3/8 of tapped thread in there. So I'm going 5/8 deep to make sure I get that. But I lose almost 1/4 of an inch over here. So again, I'm probably gonna have to increase my drill depth somewhere on about those last 4 holes. So we'll mess around and get that when we get there. That's the plan. I got the other camera set up. Let's get this knocked out and get it drilled, and then Alright, I'll come back and get that one after. I'm going to have to move the table to do that. So, let's hold off on that one. I'm going to go ahead and get the other plate laid out so I can do all the holes that are the full depth. And then I'll adjust the depth a little bit, finish off the back side of both of them. And then we'll do the ones by hand. Alright, let's get this other plate laid out. There we go, all laid out on that one. All right, let's get back to drilling some holes. All right, I don't think tapping in here is going to be a good idea. We'll just do that by hand. So let's head over to the vise, clean it up a little bit, and we'll work on getting these tapped and get the rest of the holes drilled in here. All right, so the rest of these holes we're gonna be punching in here by hand. Maybe could have got away with that one more on there. But that's all right, let's see how these are gonna work. I'm gonna kind of start right on the corner, work my way down, and then we'll work up to those last couple. Got some tape on here to set my depth for where I need to go to, and we'll just get a sense of how this is gonna go in this aluminum. All right, too bad. Keep an eye out, make sure my tape's not sliding around here. And for this one, I want to make sure I'm going straight in that way. All right, just tapping all these by hand real quick. Get this knocked out, and we'll be ready to get our trim piece drilled and bolted on here. Hey, one quick tip before we jump ahead to tap the holes around that corner. I use a rod in there to verify that angle that I drilled it on. Makes it a lot easier to line up that tap, get it as straight as you can in that funky angled holes that you drilled. So, found that worked pretty well. I'm gonna go blast these out of there with some air, get that cleaned up. We'll get that other one drilled and tapped, and then we'll head over to the drill press, get our strip marked out and drilled with our clearance holes. We'll start getting this bolted on. I'll drill all the flat holes over on the drill press, and then because I don't know how much it's gonna shift when I bend that around, we'll drill all these other ones by hand as we're kind of bolting it in place. We'll mark all these off on the edge, bend that other one around, and then just kind of lift up, mark a hole, drill it, bend it around, mark a hole, drill it, kind of do that for the rest of the way around. All right, we'll get this piece laid out. I kind of just rounded the corner off on the grinder, gave it a little blend there, rounded it in, and we will get this one laid out, bolted on. Then we'll finish up those last few holes on the end after it is in place. All right, well, I got 4 of those holes that are just a little bit off, so we'll tweak those after. I would say for my particular layout method and everything, it's manageable, it's not too bad. All right, now let's see how this is gonna go for this portion of the layout. So to lay those holes out around the corner, I got it bent around there as best I could. It actually bent around pretty easy. Kind of used a Sharpie, marked on the side where those other holes were, and then marked it with my calipers. Yes, I know I use my carbide tip calipers as a scribe. But then I grabbed a square, little small square, and marked those holes where they go across. Pulled it off, just got it set up where I could drill some holes in there, got them center punched. Tried drilling them just my clearance holes, and I found even on these little ones by hand, really needed to start out with that center drill to get them lined up a little bit closer. So a little bit of a process of working on it here. While I had it off, I kind of reamed out a little bit of clearance on the other holes that were tight. Bottom line, get better on the second one on this one at doing this. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see how we did on this curve. Yeah, we're going in around there. All right, definitely using the center drill was the way to go. This one, I am just barely off. This hole was the one I blew. Definitely blew a little bit off on that one. Okay, let me tweak these last couple holes a little bit. Cut this off, round it off, and then, yeah, I would say that is looking all right. Could maybe go just a little bit on the bottom side of these. Make sure that this is pushing all the way up to the top. Give myself just a little bit there, but not bad at all. All right, let's slot these holes a little bit, cut our end off. We should be nearly done with one here.
All right, I tried to smooth out one of those bends on a piece of pipe and I just actually kinked it a little bit. So let's see if we can't get it back together. See how this is gonna work for us. All right, that curve stayed all right. I don't think I'll hit the other one on the piece of pipe. That didn't do me any favors. That last screw, we got just a little bit of gap there. I feel like if I crank that up anymore though, I'm liable to break that screw. So I think we'll just leave that like that and let the powder coat fill that in. All right, we will definitely call that good. Let's get the other one finished up. These will be ready to get powder coated. Tried a different layout method with this one. I just clamped it and laid it out right against the existing holes. Found this worked much better for me. All right, one where I'm just a hair off. All right, that's better than the last one. Last one we had a couple that we had to tweak. So far, we're all in. All right, well, I'd say better second time around, but still a couple holes that I need a little tweak on. There, much more control with that. All right, let's figure out where we want to cut this off. All right, working on this end over here. Just grabbed a board, put a little pressure, able to get those in there nice and tight. I would say that's following the curve nicely. Nice tight match up in there. Should look good when we get that powder coated. All right, let's take one last look at these on the vehicle before I send them out to get coated. We will call those pretty much done. Let's go see how they look on there. Well, here's a last look before we go getting it powder coated. So there's our tightest spot on this side. Still enough room. We got some clearance in there. The rest of the way around, pretty even gap down there. So I think that looks really good. The other one, we're gonna put a little thicker spacer in. Should be about that same gap when it's done. But yeah, that bolted on there. Piece of trim, looks good. This one with the light, you can see a little bit of where, trying to rebend that after the holes were in there. You can see a little bit of those flat spots on there. That'll mostly come out, I think, when it's matte. It'll be just about invisible when the sun's not hitting right on it. I mean, it's pretty smooth, but you can just see those little spots on there. It's all right. I think for a first go round on those, I am thrilled with how those turned out. Get some powder coat on that. Should look just awesome on there. Okay, next time we see them, they'll be black and match. All right, here's a quick shot of those back from the powder coat. Obviously, we'll get some good shots of these on there when they're installed. But man, really happy with how that matte black came out. Now that the paint is on there, you can definitely see my little stop and starts. But by doing them in a straight line like that, I think that still
pretty minimal. Still looks really good. I don't think that's going to be any kind of a standout when they're on there. Would be a lot nicer if I could find a bigger machine and knock it out in one, but overall that looks pretty darn good. So really happy with how the powder coat turned out on those. Now let's go put some rubber on the back of them. So on this one, on the driver's side, we're going to put some 1/8 rubber on the back, partly to protect the paint, partly to lift it up enough to make up for the size of the lip I put on there. On the other side, we're going to put 1/4 inch to do the same thing. So mine, it's a little bit different from one side of the vehicle to the other. So 1/4 inch on the other side, which should get them looking pretty much the same when they're bolted in place. So let's go out there in the shop and get this thing flipped over on this piece of carpet. Or actually, may just do it right here. Yeah, I think maybe I'll just do it right here. Just get this flipped over on the piece of carpet, and we'll get a piece of 1/8 rubber. The 1/8 is self-adhesive, so I can just get it stuck on there. With the 1/4 inch, it is not self-adhesive, so I've got some 3M spray to be able to stick that in place. So let's get these done and get them put back on pebbles. All right, so here is our 1/8 rubber that we're gonna stick on the back of these, or at least stick on the back of this one. So, all right, I don't want Sharpie all over the end of my piece. See how tough this rubber is to cut. Yeah, good, not bad at all. We could wipe, get any oil, fingerprints, things off of there. All right, now let's get those holes punched back in there. There it is. Let's go get that sucker put back on the Bronco. All right, we'll see you out there. That is on there solid. There's a finished look at that on here. A little better light out here. You can see the powder coat just about filled in any of the rough machining marks. You can still see those steps, but they are pretty minimal. Man, I love how that looks and covers that up. I've seen some plastic tub covers or bed rails out there, but man, I am really happy with how that finishes off when the top is off of here. I think that looks really sharp. The matte black does it, blends it right in with everything else going on the vehicle. I am happy with that. Wish I had a way to mass produce these things a little more. Yeah, I am loving that. All right, we got our thicker 1/4 inch piece of rubber on this one to get it to match up with the other side. Just use some of that 3M spray adhesive on here. Sprayed both sides. Got that locked on. Well, it's a little tighter fit down the other side, but I don't think if I took the full 1/8 inch out of there, I think I'd be touching on the body on this side. So, you know, they're just slight difference in how that sits on there, but if I pull the full 1/8 out, I'm pretty sure that's not gonna work. So let me get a close up of this side here, give you a chance to see exactly how this fit looks compared to the other side. So there, that's in there. So there's just a hair more gap on this side, I think, than the other side. But like I say, if I try to match that up any closer, if I put an 1/8 of an inch less rubber on this one, I'm pretty sure that's gonna touch. So I think that's as close as I can get for just the slight differences in the body. So quick shot over here. There's still a gap on this side too. It's maybe just slightly different. Yeah, a little bit of difference, but I think that's about as close as I can get. There she is. Done and installed. Give you good protection on those bed rails there. Well, YouTube, that's a wrap on another project here in the BladesIIB shop. Some pretty manual machining as we got through and made these bed rails, these tub covers for this Bronco. Very manual project using the bandsaw, hand grinding all the radius and the finish on there, but also using the milling machine to cut the grooves and being able to space that out since I could only feed a maximum of 20 inches on my milling machine. I took rough cuts on this. I definitely could have gone with a rough cut and a finish cut, although the powder coat really did a nice job of cleaning up that finish in the bottom of the grooves, and not too bad on the step. Again, if I'd have done a rough cut and a finish cut, I probably could have got a little bit cleaner transition on those steps in there. For what I was using them for what I was making, I'm really happy with how that turned out. Pretty fun little machining project. I hope you got some learning out of that. I know I sure did. The other thing, I'm pretty sure I could have used 3/8 plate if I was to go back and do this again. Originally, I did 1/2 inch because I thought I was going to machine a recess off of the bottom of these, but now that I'm putting a strip on the side to close up that gap instead, I could have gone a little bit thinner on the plate, been a little bit lighter, a little easier to work with since I only went 1/8 of an inch deep in there. I know if you're trying to do this at home and you don't have a milling machine, I think another great way to make something like this would be to lay out a series of offset holes, and you could drill 3/8 holes, maybe just the dimple. You don't even really have to drill all the way in, but just put that little dimpled radius, and that would break up that flat surface as well. I think it'd give it a pretty neat look after you powder coat it. So that'd be another way to do it at home without having to have a milling machine to cut grooves in there. Just always fun tinkering away in the shop, coming up with new ways to do things, and in this case, really happy with the new part that I made for our Bronco Pebbles. All right, we've got some other mods we put on here, so I've got another channel, Bad to the Stone, if you want to go check that out for some of the other mods on Pebbles. But otherwise, hey, if you're new to this channel, I encourage you to check out the other videos on machining, welding, knife making, just everything else going on here in the BladesIIB shop. And if you haven't yet, great time to hit that subscribe button and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Know when that next video is coming out. All right, until next time, I hope you're out in your own shop, working on some projects, working on some chips of your own. We'll be here in the BladesIIB shop knocking out something. Till next time, y'all take care. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.